Good morning, everybody. All right. If you're new here, my name is Stacy. I'm a certified parent coach and educator, and I help families who are struggling with their sensitive children's behavior figure out how to parent without all the punishment, yelling, or guilt. And with summer fast approaching, I thought I would give you my top 10 tips for traveling peacefully with children so that you can all enjoy your family vacation. As some of you know, many years ago, I flew by myself with my two young children. We went halfway across the country to visit my parents. And my kids were maybe, I don't know, like 2 and 6, something like that at the time. And it was the first time my son had flown. And it was certainly the first time in my daughter's memory that she had flown. I flew with her when she was an infant, but she wouldn't remember that. And the whole trip felt like a disaster right from the beginning. My son had a major meltdown right in the middle of lining up to board the plane. And it really didn't get much better once we arrived at our destination. And maybe you've had a trip where you can relate to all of that. But the thing was, I didn't know then what I know now. So now when I travel with my kids, I do things a little differently, which is exactly what I wanted to share with you so that hopefully you can experience a little more peace when you travel together as a family. Now, usually when someone shares a top 10 list, including me, to be fair, they save the best tip for last. I'm not going to do that today. If you pay no attention to any of my other tips, I want you to pay attention to this one. I use it all the time, not just related to traveling. I use it several times a week, if not every day, particularly with my very sensitive son. So my number one tip for you, the number one thing that you can do is to spend some time preparing your child for what's going to happen. Our kids, even when they're, 12, 13, 14, they only have a very limited amount of life experience. Our brains have one major job, which is to keep us alive. Our nervous system supports that by always being on the lookout for danger, whether it's real or imagined. And when you combine those two things with all of the new things or the unfamiliar things that come with traveling, it is a recipe for triggering the nervous system into that fight, flight, freeze stress response. That big meltdown that my son had when we were lining up to board the plane at the airport, that was a perfect example of a fight response that he had. His system was overwhelmed with all of the new things, all of the unfamiliar things, and it was perceived as danger. And so it turned into that fight response. But if, on the other hand, you prepare your child by letting them know, things like the sequence of events, when they're going to get to eat, how they're going to pass the time, whatever you can think of that might trip them up, you stand a much better chance of sending those signals of safety to their nervous system. Now, this doesn't mean you have to think of absolutely everything. There will always be unknowns, and that's okay. But taking away the unknowns that we can really goes a long way towards creating a more peaceful experience for everybody. All right, that's my main tip. Number 2, coach them about the behavior that you want to see. So this goes along with preparing them ahead of time. So for example, if you are staying at a hotel and you don't want them, running down the halls screaming, let them know ahead of time that they're going to need to walk. If you're going to eat out at a restaurant, let them know how to signal to you that they need a break to run around outside for a minute, but that they can't do it in the restaurant. We want to be sensitive. They have very real needs to move and play and just be a child. But offer them ways to do that both keep them safe and also teach them how to meet those needs in a way that's appropriate for the situation that they're in. All right, number 3, you want to try as much as you can to stick to a similar schedule as when you're at home. So obviously some things are going to change, which is where my first tip comes in. You're going to prepare them for those changes. But also, if you're expecting them to stay up way past their regular bedtime and still be all sunshine and roses the next day, you're probably going to be in for some disappointment. We have routines and schedules in our everyday lives for a reason, and the more you can stick to this, the easier things will be. Number 4, try and stick to one special event per day. I know, sometimes you just want to do all the things, and some kids can handle that. But my guess is that if you're listening to this, then your child might not be one of them. I know that's certainly true for my kids. Exciting events are great, but they're also very taxing. Kids and adults often too need time to recover. Number 5, you want to try and connect with them at the start of the day and at the end of the day. Connection is a huge signal of safety for the nervous system. Maintaining a close, connected relationship is how we create relationships with our kids where they want to follow our lead. And vacations, as much as we want them to be times of connection, they often aren't. So taking intentional time to connect and be with your kids both at the beginning and the end of the day really helps to keep them feeling safe, secure, and loved, which is absolutely necessary if you also want them to be on their best behavior. Number 6, quiet time to decompress in the evening. So after a busy day out and about, make sure you're building in that time to relax and unwind before bed, especially if you want them to be able to settle down and get to sleep at a reasonable time. Sleep, as we all know, is so important. Similar to this, number 7, you want to incorporate regular downtime throughout the day. So, especially for more sensitive or introverted or neurodiverse children, you want to make sure that there are periods of downtime throughout the day so that they can really decompress and recover from those more exciting, more active times. And sometimes, if you're like me, this is really key for us as parents as well. Number 8, make time for some sensory experiences. Now, this is going to look different depending on the age of your child, but it is a great way to help kids slow down and unwind. So you can keep this really simple. You give them time to play in the water or in the sand, blow bubbles, let them squish their hands in Play-Doh. All of those sensory experiences that keep them grounded in the present and help them release anything that they need to release. Number 9, this is a good one. I say this a lot. You need to have age appropriate expectations. So at the end of the day, no matter what tips I or anyone else gives you, your child still has the skills of a child. Their brain is still maturing and developing, and keeping your expectations appropriate to their age and stage of development will really help you handle any situations that come up with a lot more grace and understanding. And finally, my last tip, number 10, manage yourself. So just like when you're dealing with meltdowns at home or any other tricky parenting situation, your first responsibility is to be able to manage yourself. Because if you can't do that, you can't help your child. So this might mean doing some planning and negotiation ahead of time to make sure that your needs are met. Your needs don't go away just because you're on vacation. In fact, sometimes they multiply. So you want to think about things like, do you need to take a walk on your own before everybody else gets up? Do you need 30 minutes to read quietly in the afternoon? Or maybe you're more of a thrill seeker than the rest of your family and you need to be able to go off and do an activity that nobody else is interested in. That's okay too. You just want to plan ahead for that and communicate those needs. All right, I hope that you have found this super helpful. That is it for me today. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.